Hi, my name is David Mannock, and I'm sharing these video clips. I operate from an integrative perspective of both my discipline in theology and psychology. What I would like to do in this video clip is begin to do an introduction to some of the elementary basic things from the side of neuroscience. Neuroscience, neurobiology, neuropsychology, in my opinion, are the stunning things to pay attention to if you really are going to understand the psychology of a human person. And in my field, the 1990s, the decade of the brain, when we began to intensely scan the human brain, it's a whole different ball game shift. So in this video, I'm going to start introducing some of the very elementary basics from the side of neuropsychology. And to the professionals out there watching this, I do offer my apology. I do understand I'm taking very complex science things in an overtly simplified fashion, trying to explain it. For two reasons. One, I'm trying to communicate to people who may not have a background in neuroscience, and I'm also, as a registered clinical supervisor, I work with postgraduate interns. These people have their master's degree, but I have to clinically train them for up to 2,000 hours, and I have to take complex neuroscience things and make it practical as they try to work with their people. So, some very basics. Okay, so let's say we have two people and we have a relationship. Let's say we have a therapist and we have a client. Okay, we got two people right away. We have a couple, which means we have couples therapy. Technically speaking, and certainly from the side of neuroscience, we could say to think of one-on-one or individual psychotherapy might be a bit of a myth. What we really have always are two people in interaction, in relationship, in a therapeutic relationship, so we need to pay attention to two-person psychology. Now, having said that, generally speaking, and again, I apologize for the simplicity, you can say the brain has three levels. And again, that's overly simplifying. It's top part, the middle part, and the bottom part. And then we can also say that the brain has two hemispheres. And there's a lot of debate and research about which the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, what they do, and there's also indication for us to understand both the left and right side does what the other side does, maybe in a minor note. So there's a lot of complexity. But for the sake of simplification, we can say, the brain seems to have a top part, which tends to be the rational part, or the intellectual part, so we can put R for rational. The middle part, which is considered the emotional part, and then in research we debate whether there is such thing as a limbic system, and that's sometimes debated, but we also know that there is an emotional center, and then the bottom part, the brain stem, and so you have a left side and the right side. And we often use an iceberg metaphor in psychology, and that goes back to Sigmund Freud, and it's a valuable metaphor. An iceberg, we know that what's above the surface is conscious, and what's below the surface is what we call the unconscious. By the way, Sigmund Freud said there's no such thing as subconscious. He was very clear about that. He did not conceptualize things in terms of a subconscious. Conscious, what's above the waterline? What sank the Titanic? It could be argued as what was below the waterline, what wasn't seen. That's unconscious. And if you want to be, again, really technical, actually, in psychoanalysis, we also know that there's a preconscious, just above the waterline, just below the waterline. Okay, now, and this is really simplifying things, but we can say that the human heart, which we can argue is the center of relationship, is below the waterline. And what does this mean? It means a lot of things. What's above the waterline, you can see, and that's where we can say, we can observe behavior, what the person did, what a person said, and so forth. And then at the preconscious level, we can say, what are the cognitional thoughts connected to the behavior? People naturally ask, why did you do that? What were you thinking? Oh, you weren't thinking at all. What was that? Note the cognitive questions. So behavior, which is the easiest thing to research and observe. Cognition, the most tricky thing is trying to figure out the motivation question, why you did what you did. In order to do that, you have to sink down into the unconscious. So we're going to take this drawing, it makes it much more complicated, but that's the beginning. Thank you.